and this is Breachers VR.
Breachers VR?
Breachers.
Wait, what is Breachers anyways? Breachers is a 5v5 tactical VR shooter where one team, the Enforcers, has to infiltrate a building and plant an EMP to disarm 2 bombs that the other team, the Revolters, must protect. If the Enforcers die, the time runs out, or the EMP is defused, the Revolters win. If the Revolters die or the EMP is successfully set off, the Enforcers win. If you want to play this game, you're gonna need a VR headset, since it's a VR game. VR headsets can range anywhere from a $300 Quest 2 to $1,000 Valve Index to the $1,500 Pimax Crystal. I have a Quest 2, which is known as a standalone headset. This means I can play games without being connected to a PC. Other headsets, like the previously mentioned Valve Index, have to be connected to a PC to work. However, not every PC is going to be able to run VR games. Often, the most expensive part of a PC VR user's setup is the PC rather than the headset itself. Breachers is available for standalone as well as PC VR, so it really comes down to personal preference when choosing standalone or PC VR for this game. Of course, there's much more that can go into the decision that I won't be going into here. It's worth mentioning that standalone headsets can be connected to a PC and be used just like any other PC VR headset by using a cord or connecting wirelessly. Now that we have a headset, we can jump into the game. To play Breachers, you're of course going to have to buy it first.
What is that, bro?
Breachers is available on Steam as well as the Quest 2 store and costs $30. But trust me when I say it's worth the money. There isn't really any other shooter game on the VR market that can really compare to Breachers. The closest one I can think of is Pavlov, which is $25, isn't as serious about its competitive aspects, and doesn't support crossplay between standalone and PC VR. Once you get in, you'll probably play the tutorial first. It's fairly simple as long as you don't play like a game journalist. After that, you have 2 queues to choose from, competitive and quick play. For first-time players, I would recommend starting in quick play before moving to competitive. This means that players can leave and join with no consequence, and empty slots will be taken by bots. In competitive, however, leaving will result in a penalty, and empty slots are not filled by bots. Jumping into quick play, you might end up in the lobby or in the middle of a match. The lobby is where players can vote for the map to play on, as well as what game mode. However, most players tend to stick to the base game mode, so you probably won't play the other 2 game modes often, if ever. When you start playing, you'll be on one of 2 teams, Enforcers or Revolters. You'll be able to know what team you're on by a few factors: the color your teammates wear, the color of your gloves, where you spawn, and what gear you're given in the shop menu. Both teams are given the same guns, but may have different gear. For example, only Enforcers get flashbangs, and only Revolters get trip mines. Both teams get things like grenades and health stims. A good rule of thumb is to try and keep your credits to the end of the buy phase at or above 1,000 credits. If you spend too much and lose the round without getting any kills, you could end up with not enough credits to get anything decent. The only rounds this doesn't apply on is the first and last round of being on a team. I typically buy a stim and a gun I can afford, going from the Jesper to the Omen, all the way up to the Marui. Most players appoint the Vezin as the best gun, since it kills with 1 shot to the head, has a quick fire rate, and has a large ammo capacity. However, I tend to use the Marui, mostly due to personal preference. Remember, you don't have to play what everybody calls the meta. What's important is you have fun playing the game. After 6 rounds, the teams will swap. This makes sure that all players get to play as both offense and defense in every game. However, since you only have to get to 7 points to win, you could end up with 6 rounds as one team and only 1 round on the other. However, one team has to be way better than the other, so much so that they don't lose a single round. Breachers is one of, if not the, best VR shooters I have played. Despite some of its flaws, such as a few balancing issues in the matchmaking, is able to stand out as my #1 pick for VR shooters. It stands far above something like Pavlov, which is filled with kids too young to even be in the 5th grade.
What do I do?
So cold. I'm just so...
Ew, child.
Of course, kids are always going to be a problem in VR, since apparently parents just don't know anything about VR. But the problem isn't quite as bad in Breachers. Some may call VR a fad, but I think it's set to have a big future. Flat screen games were called a fad back when they were getting their start, but now the gaming industry is worth over $180 billion. VR is already a $60 billion industry, attracting a few AAA game companies, such as Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed Nexus, which released near the end of last year, and even Valve with Half-Life Alyx, their first real game in almost 10 years. I'm not really sure how to end this video, so touch grass, drink water, and play Breachers.